Nina been told us that she's never killed anyone. The final episode of Creature Commandos just dropped, and I don't know how they did it, but they made me even sadder than I was in the Weasel episode or even the Dr. Phosphorus one. So let's talk about it. And spoilers if you aren't up to date with Creature Commandos. Frankenstein continues to terrorize everyone in his wake in pursuit of a woman that he believes he owns, but clearly wants nothing to do with him. I was so happy to see that the bride immediately just shot that man out the window. And I'll make another video about Frankenstein specifically because I feel like a lot of people give him grace. Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's so naive. But I don't think that's the case. Frankenstein has lived for at least a century. And although he was born in that grown body, he has the capacity to learn just like everyone else. And we see that with the bride, who is clearly well-adjusted and has empathy towards other people. And some may say that it's because she's the second experiment and so she's a little bit more advanced. But personally, I think it's because she's ingrained herself and also has a trauma that's helped shape her worldview. That being said, I think we give too much grace to Frankenstein in terms of his naivety because he knows what he's doing. He knows he's terrorizing people, and I think he just doesn't care. When they were trying to hide from Clayface and Rick Flag tells him to hide, he says, I don't give a shit. And I think that that's the attitude that we should be attaching to Frankenstein. Not that he's this like man-child, because I don't think he is. Back to the story at hand. Nina's story was definitely heartbreaking, and it mirrored to me Dr. Phosphorus. Just like him, she is the only other born human on this team. Nina's story actually reminded me of Cyborg. Just seeing how her father obsessed about healing her reminded me a lot about like Silas trying to heal his son, even when he knew it would drastically affect his quality of life, and perhaps even give him one that he didn't quite like. Nina's story definitely served as an allegory for people who have children with disabilities or special needs, and just how difficult that could be for not just the parents, but also the children. It broke my heart to watch Nina with that iron lung trying to go to the park and seeing her father push her that hard. Yes, it can be read as child abuse, but it could also be read that he is trying to ensure she has a high quality of life and pushing her beyond a limit that she may want to. The bride calling Phosphorus Ghost Rider is hilarious, but that in tandem with the reference of her calling Princess Alona the Disney princess at the end of the episode confirms that Disney and Marvel exist in the DCU. And I think that just makes things so much more fun, particularly since Marvel and DC share so many heroes in terms of origin stories and likeness. And so now it kind of seems like to me, Marvel is the fantasy and DC is the reality, at least, you know, in this universe, which I very much enjoy. It's a perfect way to pay homage to the roots of DC because you can't have DC without Marvel and vice versa, while making obvious references that we all would make with these characters. Phosphorus continues to be very disturbing, and maybe it's because now that we know his origins, we understand that he is a villain and he's enjoying this. But just the way he kills people, like him pulling back that guy's mouth with his hand, feels like overkill. He's just the polar opposite of Nina, who is totally innocent. Both of them have similar things happen to them where outside sources turns them into the monsters that they are. But in Phosphorus' case, he takes that trauma and enacts pain and violence on other people, where Nina honestly just has been sticking to herself. It's interesting to me that the initial description that Amanda Waller gives about Nina insinuates that she's deadly underwater. I assume she was some water assassin that they use on, like, I don't know, people of Atlantis or something like that. Come to find out, she's just been chilling this entire time. It's clear she's never actually experienced conflict, and her agreeing to go kill the princess is contingent on the friendship that she built with the bride and the fact that she wants to save the universe. And her inexperience was ultimately her demise. I knew immediately when the princess turned up that she wasn't who she said she was. She seemed to enjoy the Nina kill. And then when she comes out of the water to face the Creature Commandos, you see that mask right back on her face. It also explains why she was able to get the better hand of Nina underwater. I know Nina is not an experienced killer, sailor, but she still is a fish, and it's hard to move underwater. And the princess was wetting her up. I couldn't believe how good she was moving. And honestly, that's probably why she was so comfortable going for that swim in the first place. She knew she would be good. Of all of the terrible things we've seen in this season, Nina's death impacted me the most. Just like Phosphorus is the only true villain on the Creature Commandos, Nina was the only true innocent without any bodies under her belt. It's a tragedy that reflects life that she would be the one to die. Peep that Rick Flag became lucid just long enough to save his girl. And I found it interesting that it was his connection with Alana that kept her alive, but it was the bride's connection with Nina that got her killed. Their friendship was so beautiful, and I'm so sad that it had to end this way. That final line where the bride is trying to encourage Nina and she's like, "You are a monster. I said that because I'm a bitch." Girl, I love them. Either way, though, this is definitely shaping the bride to be closer to a hero. And I'm glad that Amanda Waller at least had the decency to give them humane living quarters. In the end, we do get to see that she has a new team with our boy G.I. Robot. But I have to say, I think this G.I. Robot is a little bit different because his formality with the bride suggested that he didn't really know her. I also peeped that She-Bat was there. If you guys remember, we saw her in episode 4 where her homeboy Kong Gorilla got washed up by the bride, but she was smart enough to be quiet, and that's why she's now on the team. And we also saw Khalees chilling over there, which is a mummy who I think could serve as a medic. I don't know too much about his origin stories, but it's exciting to see that there'll be more Creature Commandos, particularly since we know there'll be a season 2. Also, Frankenstein, who is a living corpse, did survive this, and it's clear he's not going on the redemption arc, which I'm perfectly fine with. I love a good villain, but I'm happy to see the bride get more autonomy as well as the Creature Commandos, and I'm very excited to see where the storyline in the DCU is going to go as a whole. This episode was the cherry on top of a near perfect season. I'm going to go ahead and give this episode 5 out of 5 Frankie Flames, well deserved. And I'm going to give this season 4.5 out of 5 Frankie Flames, just because I don't think that the premiere was as strong as every single episode. It wasn't perfect like the others. But tell me, what were your thoughts on the finale and the season? Let me know in my comments below.